What's up, guys? Welcome back to this episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. I apologize for this shitty echo there for a second while we got everything figured out, while we get back in the groove of it. What is up, everyone? Good to be back with you. If you guys are following the Instagram channel, you know that your boys had a migraine. Apparently that's a new thing that I get now. I had a migraine for like the past 2 days. So that's why this is coming to you a little bit late. I apologize, 2-3 days, whatever. But yeah, we're here now. I put up a poll the other day, or I put up a question asking how I could best serve you guys. I am going to give my life advice and what's been going on first, and then we are going to talk about UFC 241. So I want to get into your questions first. Then through that, maybe I'll go off on a rant and I'll say screw my life advice. And we'll just take it as you guys need it, as you guys need your advice. So let's get started. I know my first one, they didn't say, so I'm not going to read their name. How to balance life. I have work, school, and motherhood full-time, and I'm just tired. I need me time to work out. So, first off, for the person who wrote this, we love you. You've been a long-time supporter of this. You know who you are. How to balance, right? So balance is one of the hardest things we all search for and very few of us find. I think the thing is to realize there's never going to be balance, right? Anytime we do things, multiple things, especially when we do them alone, if you're a single parent of sorts, or if your significant other or spouse, if they're taking care of the children, anytime you're actively hustling, sometimes it can feel almost as if they're a single parent, so you need to acknowledge that as well. Balance is very difficult. Here's the thing, embrace the imbalance, right? I just had a great talk on the Seeking Azoth podcast, and we talked about this, and Jesse was talking about seeking imbalance, right? And I said, well, I get what he was saying, seeking imbalance, but really the hard part is it's seeking the struggle. Imbalance is hard, and that's what I told him. So why do I mean imbalance is hard? To be doing school, work, motherhood, fitness, everything, right? Sometimes it can feel like we need more than 24 hours, when really we don't. All we need is to simply wake up earlier or stay up later. And then balance, time manage as best you can. Time manage as best you can. One thing I realize as parents and as friends and as spouses and as employees, one thing we have to serve ourselves better with is saying no. When things come up, we've got to be better about saying no. If you're out there grinding and you're hustling, I apologize for my phone making noise. If you're out there grinding, hustling, whatever, you can't be letting other people's needs, quote-unquote emergencies, take hold of your attention. What holds your attention is very important. Also, to maintain balance, you have to maintain what holds your attention. If you're allowing Netflix and pointless YouTube videos to hold your attention for hours, then you can't really then say, well, I don't have time for X, Y, and Z. Now, I'm no longer talking about the person who sent this question in. I think I've kind of answered it. Just find that, embrace the fact that there's going to be imbalance. Talk to your family. That's definitely important. You always want to communicate with your family when you notice that there's an imbalance. You want to let them know that you notice it too, and that you're not okay with it, and you're dedicated to fixing it, and hopefully they will stay dedicated to fixing that with you. That would be the way I would answer for the person who I know and love and care about very much. That is the answer I would give you. For everybody else, I would say if you are making the excuse, well, I just don't have time and this is just too much, it's this and that and this and that, I want to encourage you to stop. Stop altogether. Stop making all excuses. I don't have time. That's an excuse. You do have time. Technically, you are sleeping. If you're still alive, then you are sleeping. What I get so tired of hearing all the time, and I hear it constantly, well, my scenario, give whatever scenario they're giving, is this, and I just wish I could be as strong as you. Because I talk about depression and anxiety and stuff like this. I put a big long rant on my Instagram today where I pretty much said, like, yeah, I have a migraine. It fucking sucks, but you know, I still had to get up and I had to go teach a class at Title Boxing, and it sucked and it hurt a lot. The class went great because I delivered a good class, even though my head hurt. And it was like, you just do the shit that you have to do. Even though every single time I say a word, my brain feels like it's buzzing in my head, you do the shit you have to do. And it's no problem. Yes. Is it aggravating? Sure. Am I going to be okay? Yes. And that's the thing. I hear people all the time, I wish I could be as strong as you. It takes nothing. I'm not a strong person. I don't have a superpower, and I'm not any stronger than anyone else. I just make choices that are hard, which is get off the couch when you want to call into work. Go work out early in the morning instead of sitting around smoking all morning. Do the things that orient you towards your goals. And if that causes an imbalance in your life, talk to the people that are participating in life with you. Try to do your best to cut some of the slack out of those imbalances if you can. But realize that everything you're doing, you're chasing something. You're chasing a goal. You're chasing an outcome. And remind the people who are supporting you of that as well. One day, this will end. This long time of imbalance. Perfect example. A good buddy of mine, I want to send out a congratulations to him, a guest on this show, Nate the Train Landwehr, just signed with the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. He signed with him. I've not known Nate for very long, a year, almost 2 years now, I think. But I can tell you Nate's life is full of imbalance. It's full of times that he's had to spend working and working out and traveling and recovering and things when he's got a million other things to do. I'm not going to put Nate's personal life out there, but Nate deals with a lot of stuff, and Nate takes care of a lot of people. And he's still the champion of the world, featherweight champion of the world for M1 Global, and now just signed to the UFC. So it's like, now is the time, and I've been watching the videos over on his family's page. I've been watching them all week. They're all hugging and celebrating and everything while he gives this great news. And the news is, like, this is it. You know, this is what we've been sacrificing for. But then the next thing is, but we're not done yet, you know. So it's like he's been telling his family, stay with me, this is going to be worth it, it's going to be worth it. And now it's worth it, you know. And people don't see that. And I've talked about it all the time. And I talk about it especially with my clients. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day where they were asking, like, you constantly say you need to do the things that are going to make you better. They were saying, I don't know what the things are. And I said, well, what do you feel like you're not doing? Or what do you feel like your things, what do you feel like your thing is? And they told me, and I said, well, what's got you frustrated with it all? And they said that their coach was getting frustrated with them because they were showing up a couple minutes late to work. They were showing up, again, I think with the nature of it, there is another person involved. We need to be respectful of that, so I'm not going to read your IG handle because I don't know who knows who. And it's not worth causing drama in anyone's life, right? How to bounce back, man. That's tough. It's tough. It's tough to bounce back because you lose your identity. I talk about it a lot with service members, and I talk about it a lot with athletes. I talk about it a lot with people that I work in relationship troubles with. You, whether you know it, understand it, or even acknowledge it right now, if you're in a relationship, your identity is attached to that person. You can see it in easy things, you know. When you make plans, people automatically assume there's another person coming if they know you're in a relationship. That's a part of your identity. You're no longer Nicole and I'm Cam. To our friends, we are Cam and Nicole. We are the Williamsons. That, when you get married, literally changes your identity. So you've done that. You have either changed your identity or someone has changed their identity to match yours legally. Okay, that does something. You're a family now. So, what's that mean? You made a promise. You're acknowledging the desire to break said promise. That's hard on everybody for whatever reasons. I wasn't there. I don't know. For whatever happened, you guys decided to break that promise that many hold in high regards as a promise made to God. I think you should worry about how you feel currently. I think God knows how He feels about it, and He'll act accordingly. I don't think that's something we need to concern ourselves with. I think you need to focus on figuring out who you are, allowing yourself to be anything, to try anything. Be safe, be safe. Please don't go out and act crazy. One thing I always say, man, jumping right into other relationships, really try hard not to. I'm not saying if you find somebody that you think could be really special, I'm just saying take it slow, Take it slow. Only because you're going to have a void there, and that void is going to still be half filled because of how new it all is, the divorce. So you still kind of have love in your heart because you've received it, at least relatively recently. Even if the end of the divorce was crazy, you still have love and affectionate type remembrances in your mind. So it can be easy to slip into another relationship. I would advise you not to, only because once you fall into the arms of another person, you find comfort there, right? You find comfort there. You maybe move on too fast, more than your subconscious or your heart is ready to, or you become codependent on this other person to help you heal subconsciously. You may not even realize you're doing it. That shows itself in the way of sometimes being overly needy, not being able to disassociate with anything that maybe they do and for their own life that has nothing to do with you. You feel the need to be a part of everything with them. Those are usually signs that you have no identification of your own. You have no fucking clue who you are. If you need to constantly be around other people, that's a sign that you have a full-on identity crisis going on. Now, an identity crisis isn't as bad as it sounds. It's not that you don't know that your real name is this and that you know who you are. Yourself will never let you forget who you are. It's going to be the first thought you have in the morning. It's going to be every thought you have throughout the day. It's going to be what tells you how to guide your life. That is you. Here's what we need to stop doing, right? Especially during times of breakup or extreme change. We need to stop associating ourselves to other things. Subconsciously, your mind is looking for something to attach to find a new identity. We do it in social media. We find ambassadors, celebrities, movie stars, athletes. We find these people that we want to emulate because we look up to the way that they live their lives and the results they have and the work ethic that they have, and we look up to them, but then we start to replicate them. It's one thing to be motivated by someone and then to learn from their life lessons and make adjustments accordingly, so that way you don't have to learn those lessons the hard way, but then still living life your own way with your own spin on it. Replicating your favorite person who motivates you to live a better life doesn't make you have a better life. That turns you into them, which means you die, right? So you can never be successful being them. It will never work ever, because they're them and they're being successful with that. The world has that. We don't need another one. That's the thing. You have to find, what do you have that this world doesn't? What can you give that this world can't? What can you bring to others that this world can't? Next, you need to stop worrying about things like social media, how you are perceived, what people think about you in general. Because during times of a divorce or major change, you're going to be told so many things, right? When I was going through a divorce, I was told tons of things. I was a terrible father. I was leaving a newborn baby. I was a miserable husband, and I was breaking vows, and I was going against God, and I was told all kinds of terrible shit. And you're going to have to live with that shit bouncing around in the old brain. Here's the problem, man. We like to try to cut that shit off. when things come up that make us feel some type of way, guilt, maybe shame, maybe whatever, whether it's warranted or not, we don't even give it a second to fester in our mind because it's uncomfortable, so we run from it. So oftentimes we run to things like alcohol, drugs, friends, family, movies, entertainment, social media, whatever. I'm sitting here watching the Joe Rogan podcast while I'm talking to you guys. I'm obviously not paying attention to it. We buy into so many things that we don't even realize affect our identity. I mean, I'm wearing a freaking shirt right now only because Joe Rogan works for the company. I have a podcast because Joe Rogan has motivated me through his podcast. My studio looks very similar to Joe Rogan's because I've been motivated and influenced by the way he does it. I hope that people never watch my show and go, well, he's just being Rogan. Because it's very different. Rogan has very different perspectives and point of views and feelings about things. I disagree with Joe all the time on stuff. That if I was like a co-host on his show, we would go back and forth quite often. So, you know, you just got to watch. You got to watch that you don't solely buy in and become a zombie. I see a lot of Joe Rogan zombies. There's a lot of people that just, oh, Joe Rogan, meat eater, on it, freaking whatever. And they just follow whatever the fuck he says. And it's like, no, dude. You're not listening to the man. Listen, figure out who you are for yourself. Same thing with Gary Vee. Hustle, grind. Nothing, fuck all the bullshit. Just hustle for 10 years and grind. Okay, we've heard it. If you've seen Gary Vee's videos for more than 5 minutes, then you've seen them all. Right? He's going to tell those same stories. They're going to have different spins on them depending on what cool hip-hop artist or entrepreneur he's talked to recently. But it's going to be the same shit. What he's really trying to tell you is stop listening to him. It's the same thing I'm telling you. I'm just telling you this openly. I love it that you guys listen to my show, and I'm sure Gary loves it that you listen to his show, and Andy Frisella loves it that you listen to his show. While we all appreciate it, I'll be the only one that's trying to tell you, straight up, you need to really turn my show off, sit alone in the quiet, and just be alone with your thoughts. Right now, I'm guessing 50 people at least just went, nope, I can't do that. I have anxiety, I have depression. If I do that, I'm going to fall into a hole. That thought, while it's there, it's wrong. It's there. You may have done that in the past. It's wrong. You need to decide that it's wrong. You need to go sit in a comfortable place and be alone with your thoughts, with no entertainment, and figure shit out in your own head. What do you feel about this life that you live in? What do you feel? Not what were you raised to feel, what were you taught to feel? How do you feel about life? What is important to you? What, if you could, right now, would you be spending your time on? Whatever those things are, do those things. That is how you live a fulfilling life. That is how you live a life that is one that is not free of anxiety and depression or anything like that, but it is one that is manageable because at least when life is hard, you know why you're living it. The golden question, what is the purpose of life? There is no golden one purpose of life. It's not the purpose in life is to be a good person and impact as many lives as you can. You know, that could be, you know, the impact you make on the world is the purpose of life. Sure, possibly, I don't know. The purpose of life is to figure out who are you? And who are you at 100%? Not who are you at 75% when you're around this group of people and you can show certain things but not others. You're not who are you at 90% when you're at home and you're with your family who you love and trust, but you have things that you keep. Dreams, fears, worries, you keep at bay so you're not giving your whole 100%. How can you live your life 100%? Start doing that. The hard part is that requires change, and change is very difficult. It's hard on all of us. You got to cut people out. You got to learn to trust again. Ooh boy, for us who have been burnt by that one, the old T word, trust. Yeah, man, you got to learn to trust again. You got to learn not all people are bad. I had to learn that after being in the military. Not all people are trying to deceive me and con me and trying to be a threat to national security all the goddamn time. That's just the games that our minds play. Yeah, I kind of went off on a little tangent there, but yeah, you get the fucking point, right? I think we dropped my phone somewhere. Let's see, I thought I had one more question. Maybe not. I may be incorrect. So if that's the case, we will move on then to thoughts on people who live in constant anxiety that get even more scared when they relax. Boy, do I connect to this one. Let's restart this. Camera won't be running. It is. We look good. Is that a battery charging? Oh, I was about to be real pissed. Okay, so how do you live with anxiety? And it gets worse when you try to relax. So yeah, I connect to that for sure. It's essentially, right, it's the same as FOMO, so the fear of missing out, right? The fear of missing out is the reason that we all stay on our phones constantly, because we're afraid that the big call is going to come in, the big life-changing moment is going to happen. You're going to find out that somehow somebody Venmo'd you $700 and you don't know why, but it solved all your problems, and that record label called, or that fight promoter called, or your boss called to give you that raise out of nowhere because you just deserve it. Look at my face, YouTube. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So first off, leave the phones alone. Realize that moment's not going to happen. And if it does, great. You got a surprise that you weren't expecting when you pick the phone back up. The phones are causing a lot of the anxieties. The phones are a lot of the reason that we don't let ourselves relax, because we're constantly, oh shit, where's my phone? Oh fuck, where's my phone? Oh, man. Will you call this? Hey, will you text it? My phone's on silent. Will you call me? All this shit about our fucking phones. Leave the fucking phones alone. Leave them alone. I don't care. Even if you work on the phone. I work on my phone. I scroll through it during the work days all the time. I'm constantly working, posting. You know how much time I actually spend looking through content? None. None. I go through, try to support you guys as best I can, and I get the fuck off. I'm not reading about what Ivanka Trump thinks about what's going on in New Guinea. I don't give a fuck. The Epstein thing. Motherfucker, Epstein's not dead. He's gone. That motherfucker is gone. Epstein is gone, 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 gone. Let me tell you something as a detention guard. Am I saying that motherfuckers don't sleep on guard? I'm not saying it never happens. I'm not saying it never happens. On suicide watch, on a suicide block, does it happen? Man, that's your ass, Mr. Postman. I'm telling you, from somebody who's been in detention centers and prisons and in county jails. I've never been in a prison, I don't think. The detention center, it's not a prison. Yeah, my kid's bugging. If you have a guy that's on suicide watch, usually, I'm telling you just from the correction centers I've been in, usually there's either someone constantly roaming back and forth, and then they switch out every 30 minutes to an hour to 3 hours, whatever the SOP is, standard operating procedure is, for the jail that they're working at. Or it's something like what actually was supposed to happen. It looked like they were supposed to come around every 30 minutes. Dude was sleeping, they were both sleeping, and they just faked logs. Now, if somebody had a connection to the warden, and if you guys see that I fucking disappear, I guess you'll know why, because I'm just that fucking smart that I put all this shit together in the dumbass brain that I have. That's not true. I don't know why I said that negative shit about myself, because I'm afraid to get capped off by the Clintons. Yeah, man, no. If somebody had done that, that would be your ass. But what I think happened, somebody high up in the prison knew whoever the vested interest party was. I would not dare to say who that would be, because I'm not so bold, and I'm sitting way too close to a window that I can't see through, so I would never be so bold as to say who did what, but I will say, whoever the vested party was that got Mr. Epstein El Chapo'd out of prison, tunnel dug himself out and disappeared through the fleeting of the night, whoever that was just knew. Just knew the warden. And the warden knew what mistake would be easily desmudgeable. And, oh man, shit, it was a slip up. What we're going to say, we're going to tell people we're putting these two on some sort of leave of absence. But really what we'll do is we'll put them on a non-paid, or unemployment or whatever. And then, they just fell asleep. Nobody knows what they don't know, right? If only the warden and the vested party and Epstein know, nobody else knows. Nobody needs to know. So I don't even know what the man did. I know what he was kind of alleged of doing, but I know if you got an island that motherfuckers aren't allowed to know what's going on, and you got multi-billions, bitch, you ain't just got one island that they know about. And you don't just have funds chilling that they know about. You were about to do prison time. Life probably in prison time. Your best choice was to kill yourself or use up all that money you got and get your ass out, and you've got people to protect that will help you pay those bills to get you the fuck out and make sure that you Tupac and Houdini on our ass, and now you live in a little hut in Venezuela that's real nice, but nobody knows who the fuck you are, and you got all the money in the world, or you're on your own private island with your own private fucking chef doing whatever the fuck you want until the day you die, you rotten piece of shit. It's just the way I feel about that. Yeah, what a left turn down the road to redemption, right? Going negative all the way. Alright, I'm going to, yeah. What do we got? I don't think I have anything else for you. I think I gave you all my life advices. So as of right now, we will do the transition and we will go to the MMA show where we will talk about UFC 241 right now. Boom! Welcome back, guys. This is the Road to Redemption MMA Breakdown Show. We are talking today about UFC 241. If it looks like I haven't moved, it's because I haven't. It's this exact second. I literally clapped my hands. You guys should have seen the logo, and we're here. I'm not going to go over the whole card. I'm not going to go over the entire card because I still don't feel well, and you guys don't really care to listen to that much. You guys probably don't know who most of those fighters, just like I don't. When it gets to the prelims and the early prelims, most people don't know who those guys are because they're local. There was some good fights on the prelims. That one kid, the one he was a former drug addict. He's in recovery. Something like Heinsen or something. He was a beast. I got in the shower at the end of his fight, so I didn't get to see if he won. But there was a lot of good fights on the prelims. Let's just start. Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero fought the dude from Mexico. I can't remember his last name. Bendiez, something like that. I thought Yoel looked great. Boy, oh boy. If Yoel Romero is not on some sort of human optimization supplements, I will be shocked. Because what did they say Yoel was? Like 43? And the dude looks like a fucking action figure. He's got explosive power. Do I think Yoel won the fight? Man, oh man, tough to say. That kid, the dude was tough. That Mexican dude was really tough. They fought hard. They gave it to the Benderes. I forget his fucking name. Benderes. They gave it to him. I don't know. Yoel looked good, but there was some good significant strikes by his Mexican counterpart. So, Yoel, you're 43. You still look good. If you want to keep doing it again, hey man, fucking go ahead. You didn't show anything that was concerning to me that shows you couldn't do it. And last night was a night of a few older guys that we will get into with the main event. But first, the co-main, Nate Diaz and Anthony Showtime Pettis. I think both men delivered on what they said. Diaz showed that he was obviously the top dog by winning. Sorry if you haven't seen it yet, but I don't know why you would watch this if you know I'm going to talk about it, if you didn't know the results. I thought Showtime looked good. I think he just genuinely got outmatched. I think all that spinning shit he was showing during all the UFC embeddeds, I think he did that to try to throw Diaz off, try to make Diaz think he was going to be all about that spin life and then just try to box with him. And he forgot that Diaz is legitimately a phenomenal boxer. And he doesn't really kick a whole lot, but when he threw a few kicks, it looked like Showtime really had to respect him. So, and you know that seriously, Nate Diaz and his brother Nick, I love that he screamed as soon as he won, "Nick Diaz Army, motherfuckers." I just think that's so cool that he's down for his brother like that. Him and his brother, Cron Gracie, was in his corner. They train over at Gracie in California. Him and his brother are very highly regarded. Very, 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 very serious black belt jiu-jitsu players. So, you know, Nate Diaz, he's about that life on the feet, and he has no problem throwing those hands, and Lord knows he did not want to put him up until he took a few shots where you saw, well, after the eye poke, you saw Nate's hands went up higher, or went up at all, really. Last night was a big night for fighters not putting their hands up. Daniel Cormier. Nate didn't really fight with his hands up a whole lot. And I think Nate's comfortability after 3 years of being outside the octagon, I think that made Showtime uncomfortable. I think he needed, in a sense, Nate to come back and be flustered. Now, the UFC put Nate Diaz in Anaheim, California, and he's from Stockton. He's gonna get love, right? Now, the only thing he could have done more is come out to California Love, but that's Uriah Faber's song. Joe Rogan tweeted out that, like, when Nate came out of the tunnel, it was like second to something he's never seen before, was the way they erupted. Like, dude, people are down for Nate and Nick Diaz in California. So with that energy behind him alone, and then the fact that he is just about that life in every single way possible, I think Showtime, unfortunately, was given a little bit too much credit. His last big win was Wonder Boy. He won via Superman Punch, which is kind of a trickster play to me. You know, you're kind of running bottom of the bag. He was in the last few, I don't remember the exact time, but I know it was, the fight was almost over and he really needed to knock Wonder Boy out to get or else he was not going to win. And it was kind of a flashy trick play, and it worked, thankfully, for Pettis. But coming off a few tricky things, I'm not saying Pettis isn't a dog, because he is, but Nate is a dog all the time. Nate doesn't win with flashy kicks off the cage and Superman punch to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, who's a technical freak. Nate Diaz is a dog. And, like, those hands that you might catch him with, it's not going to fade. That way we don't run out and I don't waste this episode. Main event, Daniel Cormier heavyweight bout. Daniel Cormier, the champ, comes up against Stipe Miocic, Cleveland, Ohio. So obviously I'm going for Stipe because he's an Ohio boy, as of myself. Fight starts. DC comes out with his hands completely down, showing a blatant general disrespect to Stipe Miocic. Before this, I sent out a tweet. You guys can timestamp it if you want. I sent out a tweet saying that DC looked off. I just don't think he looked right. I think all these Boost Mobile commercials and the hanging out with Hans Mollenkamp, filming all these funny videos and doing the ESPN 30 for 30 and all this shit that he's doing, okay, that's cool. That's great. If you've been there for a while and you're used to that pace of doing all that media while doing the training as well. Here's the problem. You get a guy, I'm not saying DC is an overnight whatever, he's very talented, and I'm not dogging on DC, but DC beat Stipe and then was the guy. Where before, DC, not so much, right? Not so much. So he becomes this champion. Now he's the champ. So now he's got the Monster sponsorship, and he's responsible to do these media obligations because the sponsorships are bigger. That shit does something to you. I hate to quote Nate Landwehr again, but he's one who says all the time, to be a fighter is not just to be a fighter. You got to be able to do the interviews and the conferences and the sponsorships, and you got to be able to do all that and still train as hard as you were. You can't now miss, or practice an hour short because you got to go to a photo shoot. You have to practice and then go to the photo shoot and give everything your attention. Going back to what we talked about before, imbalance. So I think that caused a major imbalance for DC. DC comes out, he looks rattled. In his eyes, he looks rattled. He even made a joke on the UFC Embedded when him and Stipe crossed paths. He goes, Stipe's hand was stronger. His hand was stronger. And he was trying to act like he was being funny, but that joke came from somewhere. That was a real thought he had, which he turned that insecurity into humor. So then when he saw Stipe, he was like, oh shit, like this motherfucker really is bigger. And I remember his handshake was stronger. I think DC mentally was just not at his best. But first round comes to be, DC pieces Stipe up. Just connecting. They're doing a lot of this weird arm fighting shit, which is pretty standard no-no. And almost every level of striking, it's slapping at hands is just not a technique that you do. Long guard is where you're staying out here and you're kind of keeping a range of where their gloves are and you're tapping. But with MMA gloves, to sit there and slap each other's hands the way they were is, I don't know why the fuck either one of them were doing that. Again, there are certain techniques where someone jabs and you can kind of parry it down. You can slap it down. That's a thing. But again, this hand slapping is not a thing. Both corners were asking them both to stop doing that. And they did it pretty much the entire time. The first round, DC came with his hands out, hand slapping, dak, dak, dak. He would hit Stipe. Stipe would eat it. Nothing much really from Stipe in the first. Second comes around. Pretty dominant, again, still by Daniel Cormier. Nothing crazy. Now Stipe starts coming back. He's landing the few on DC, but he's not really hurting him. Third round, it was a real problem for DC. DC asked him at the end of the first, and then he made a comment again at the second. In the first round, at the end, he goes back to his corner and he asks, "Am I losing?" That was the only thing that came out of his mouth. Am I losing? And his corner was like, no, I think you're good. Second round comes around and he goes, are you saying I'm losing? And he kept doing it, but he wasn't. Like, he was clearly winning the fight. Third round comes up. I think it was the third. It might have been early in the fourth. At some point, Stipe takes DC down. I think DC even tried to take Stipe down once, and Stipe snuffed the takedown. And then when Stipe took DC down, that was it. Mentally, DC quit. He broke down because the staple, I think mentally he knew that if they went to the ground, he was going to be able to out-wrestle Stipe. When Stipe took him down mentally, DC had been defeated. So then, when he got back up, Stipe connects, drops him with those he was taking these nasty body shots. DC took like 6 to 8 of them, of these body shots. And then it didn't seem to faze him until there was one that did faze him. It kind of hunched him over. Stipe cracked him, got him up against the cage, TKO. And new Stipe Miocic, Cleveland. He claims independence. Cleveland, same thing. Proud of you, dude. Awesome. Nice night of fights, guys. Super proud. Let's get the MyBookie. The MyBookie read, I actually have it. We'll put it up. I'll put it in. It'll be the clip at the end of this. Love you guys. That's the end of the podcast. Please support. Support all the sponsors. Share this. If you guys thought it was a good episode, share it with everybody you can. Let people know. That's how this stuff grows, and that's how I'm able to come see you in a city near you. Love you guys. See you.
This episode is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. Guys, it's hard to believe, but football season is almost back. The NFL preseason kicks off with the Hall of Fame game on August 1st. I honestly did not know that. And soon we'll have regular season NFL college football again. NFL and college football. The best time of year in my opinion. That means it's time to make an account at the best online sportsbook known to man. That's right, I'm talking about MyBookie.ag. You guys know I love them, we've talked about them, we've worked together forever, and I honestly mean what I say, I play with them all the time. That means in time, it's, that's right, I'm talking about MyBookie. Sports betting is exploding in popularity. Also true. If you want to get in on the action with a trusted company that's been in business for years, MyBookie is the place for you. With an easy, no-hassle mobile site, 24/7 customer service, which is great. I've used them a few times, helps with deposits and stuff. And bets on every sport and prop imaginable, MyBookie provides a fun, safe betting experience. Maybe you think Drew Brees and the Saints get their revenge for the terrible blown call last year's NFC Championship. Or maybe you think Tom Brady and the Patriots won an unbelievable 7th Super Bowl. Why not make money when your predictions come true? And if you deposit it today, MyBookie will give you a 50% deposit bonus. That's right. If you put $100, they'll give you $50. If you put in $1,000, they'll give you $500. It's that easy. Football weekends are the best, but they're even more thrilling when every touchdown can win you more money. So go to mybookie.ag and sign up today with promo code. It's already there when you click the link in the promo code below. At MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.